Hey, how's it going, everyone? I know it's been a while since I touched this game, but I promise I get through with this. I'm here to discuss the rank 2 planes for the Italians and the French. Now, because the Italians and the French have not very many aircraft in rank 2, they've only got a small little handful here, most of which are just copies of one another for the Italians, and then for the French, there's basically nothing. You get a whole 7 planes. So I'm just going to lump them both together and just do a review as that. First things first, I want to do a bit of housekeeping, a little bit of updates to stuff that has happened to Tier 1 planes as far as I can see. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything new in terms of the Americans, the Germans. I haven't really seen anything new for rank 1 or rank 2. Germans and Russians are still the same. The British are still the same. And the Japanese, still the same. Same premiums. Italy, however, at rank 1, I believe got 2 aircraft. And the first one, just as a quick little review here, is going to be the RE2000 GA. Now, this is actually quite similar to the RE2000 that's already in the tree. The only variant between that one and this one is this one carries bombs. That's literally it. I think the GA actually stands for ground attack. It's got the same like armored chair, it's same basically everything. I think the other one here might be a little bit faster. Yeah, the 342 to 339, but it's really no difference. This is basically the same plane as the other one, just with bombs now. The other one is a Stuka. The Italians actually got a hold of a couple of Stukas recently. Now this R2 here is, in terms of the actual plane, the exact same one as Germany. This guy right here that has the absolutely massive 1,000-kilogram bomb. Unfortunately, the Italians don't get the 1,000-kilogram bomb. They actually get a different little bit of a bomb loadout. I'm all over the place here. There we go. Their top bomb loadout is 4 50-kilogram bombs and a 500. So, not necessarily great, but not necessarily the worst thing ever. It's a 1.7 ground attacker, so I really don't expect all that much. But it is a Stuka, so it is going to be fun for what it's worth. The other bit of housekeeping I wanted to keep up on is the Berta 88, which was, I think, like the only Tier 1 Italian plane I actually ended up liking. I actually ended up getting a different skin for it. So, it's just rank 2 now. There's really no difference with it. It's still rank 2.0. It works well with like a 1.7 to 2.0 loadout, which is what I've got it here with the C200s and the RE2000s and then the G50s. So in terms of rank 2, the first things that you're going to notice is the SM-79s that were in the German tech tree. These are now your standard Italian bombers. Now, unfortunately, they're not that great. they there's a laundry list of problems that these things have. One is that they're really quite slow. They're fairly easy targets. The guns on them are kind of awkwardly placed. Like, you've got one gunner up here and one gunner down here. Now, or one gun, I should say, down here. So if you lose one of these guys here, it's going to take out more than one gun. And more than likely, with them being so close together, if one gets killed, chances are the other's getting killed. Which, it's not like you're going to rely on your side gunners anything or any way to really do anything. But there is one nifty little thing, I guess you could say, is that it does have a forehead gun right here. It's a Italian 50 cal, so it's absolute garbage, but I mean, if you're up there and you pass over another bomber, you feel free to take a shot at him, I guess. You know, you might get lucky. In terms of armor plating, there's absolutely nothing, which also I've noticed in terms of durability, this thing's actually not too bad, just because the fuel tanks on there are towards the middle, so the wings here are relatively durable. But you know, this thing's, you know, just aim here in the middle, you'll kill it. In terms of bomb loadouts for it, it's actually got a pretty decent little bomb loadout, especially if you get to the two 500s or the 5 250s. Unfortunately, I flew these out with the Germans. So with those, I have them more unlocked. I just haven't gotten around to unlocking these again because they're literally quite the exact same plane. Also, it's 3 engines make it look kind of funny, I guess. So, I don't know. The SM-79s, they're kind of a meme, as most Italian war vehicles are. But moving on to the Series 8 of SM-79s, it's really no difference. It's still pretty slow. The guns on it are still pretty useless. I think it's the exact same bomb loadout, yeah. It's just a different variant now, and you go from a 2.0 to a 2.3. I don't necessarily understand why these are at the battle ranking they are. I feel like these could easily pass as rank 1 bombers. Maybe it's because, I don't know, you have the S-81 and the BR-20 right here to kind of fill out with for rank 1, and these are okay bombers. The S-81 is actually quite good, but I don't know. One reason or another, Gaijin decided to make them rank 2. It's probably because they were for the Germans. It was just easier just to copy paste. But anyway, moving on to more interesting things like the fighters. So the RE-2001, which comes down from the RE-2000, you jump to battle ranking 2.3, and it's starting to look like something. It's starting to look like the C-202. Now, the C-202 is another one of those planes that was just in the game for the longest time under the Germans here, which, if you had already unlocked these for the Germans, they'll still be in your tech tree, which I think it's funny that it's a rank 2, or it's a rank 1 plane here, but it's a rank 2 plane for the Italians. But the only real difference between the C-202 and the German tech tree and the one in the Italian tech tree is the one in the German tech tree gets the, I think it's the Eastern Front skin for it. But it's okay. That's the best way I could describe it. It's okay. The best thing about it is it actually has guns to complement the 12.7s, which, if you've watched my review of the Tier 1 Italians, is my main gripe against the Italian planes in general, is just the 12.7s just aren't that good. They have a slow muzzle velocity, slow rate of fire, and they're just impossible to hit things with. You're trying to hit something that's flying anywhere between 250 to 400 miles an hour with bullets that are barely going that speed themselves, it feels like. But complemented with these 7.7s Beretta SFATs here, which you get a nice chunk of ammo for them. That's 500 rounds of gun. They do drain a little quickly if you just spam the trigger or just hold it down. But if you take careful shots, this thing will end up working out for you. Now, mind you, mine's not fully unlocked, but with a 22.4 second turn time, this thing is kind of like a boom and zoomer, I would say, or what I would call like a baby boom and zoom, to where you don't have to necessarily climb up as high, because then you're just going to start tangling with BF-109s and they'll just absolutely tear you apart with their cannons. But this plane has kind of a, I don't know, it has a charm to it that lends it to being sort of a semi boom and zoom aircraft. It's just getting the guns on target and actually getting them to deal damage. So moving on to the armor, I got a piece of glass in the front here and a piece in the back, so relatively kind of out in the open. In terms of durability, though, and survivability, this plane's actually quite good. The wings on this plane have practically nothing in them. So if you're up against this thing, obviously aim for the fuselage in the middle, because that's where things are going to get nasty. But at Battle Ricky 2.3, it's okay. It's definitely not the first plane I would take out. I would definitely take out a BF-109 or like a P-40 versus this. Also, this is that, everybody knows that one plane that it's shorter on one side than it is the other. This is it. This wing is longer than this wing. The reason why that is because with a propeller that spins in one direction or the other direction, whichever way it goes, your plane will generally just start to lean in that direction. Well, what the Italians did was they tried to counteract that lean with making one wing longer than the other, but that led to another laundry list of problems. But you're not going to run to that in game here, so it shouldn't be a problem. Then moving on to the plane I was talking about, but that's the C-202. The RE 2001 is basically the same plane. It's a little stubbier, I've noticed. So it's kind of a smaller target, although the wings themselves are kind of fat. Once again, just pretty good survivability, and you just get the one piece of armor plating there, so obviously, don't go head on with planes, kids. Just don't go head on at all. Now, unfortunately, I looked at this the first time I saw it, and I thought, wait, is that a cannon in the propeller hub? Wait, it has a cannon at 2.3? No, there's nothing there. It's just the same old two Beretta SFAT 12.7s and then two 7.7s in the wings. So, unfortunately, in terms of armament, it's really disappointing. Maneuverability, though, is actually not too bad. Now, mind you, mine isn't fully upgraded, but it's not that bad. Obviously, dedicated turn fighters are going to get the best of you, but you can surprise a couple of things every now and again. It's another meh plane, unfortunately. Same thing kind of goes off to the 2001 CB. It's quite literally the exact same plane, except I think this has, yeah, this one just has armored glass at the front, and I think might be a bit faster. Let me check the review here. So we've got, so 329 versus 320. Yeah, or 3. Yeah, there's basically no difference whatsoever between the Series 1 and the CB. This, however, is actually quite lovely. What I like to call this is a discount BF-109. I mean, like, bottom of the barrel discount, because this thing does not like climbing that much. It's got a pretty weak engine. It doesn't turn that well. But at Battle Ranking 2.7s, it's got 2 MG151s. Holy frickin' Luya, a low-tier Italian plane that can actually do something. So, so the MG151s replace the 7.7s. The 12.7s are still in the nose here, but you get these cool little cannon pods underneath here. Now, unfortunately, there is a downside to these cannons in the fact that there's only 60 rounds a gun, which, if you've played the German BF-109s at all at Battle Ranking 2.7, you should know that you really need to make your shots count. With the BF-109, it's a lot easier because you're really, really fast and you can catch up to anything you're shooting, and you can just boom and zoom absolutely everything to death. With the RE 2001 cannon, that's just what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it the Cannon 2001. It feels like it wants to function the same way. It wants to be a BF-109. It really does. And unfortunately, it just sort of falls short because it is limited by kind of a pretty weedy engine. Now, this is the only plane really that I have upgraded all that much. I've basically got everything except the bombs, which this can carry a 250. I'm pretty sure the other planes can as well, but you shouldn't be You shouldn't be targeting ground targets with this thing unless they're the only things left. But the one thing that this redeems itself with the cannons is with the air targets are out. You get those mine log whatever rounds. I can't pronounce this to save my life, but they do work. They do work against planes. So like I said, Italian spaghetti BF-109. That's what this is. Then going on to the 202 EC. Now, this is probably the best plane at Tier 2 for the Italians, simply because it's got the relatively great flight model of the 202. It's got a decent rate of climb. It's fairly maneuverable and quite fast. Now, just take the C202 and give it a pair of cannons. And these cannons actually have ammo. So this thing is very much capable of tearing down a lot of planes. This thing is extremely lethal. Now, I think this actually got a battle ranking lowered down to battle ranking 3.0. I think it was 3.3. Once again, it is the MG151s. Thank you, Germany. So, basically everything I said about the C202, but with a much improved armament. It's such a relief to have a nice, beautiful plane that's capable of flying with the performance that it has and actually be able to shoot stuff. This thing is one of the few reasons to fly Italy at Tier 2. Then moving on to the Ju-87 D3. Now the D3 is going to be the same D3 that is in a German tech tree here. Except, unfortunately, the D3 in the Italian tech tree does not get that big 1,000-kilogram bomb. Why must you torment me like this? I just don't know why. I really don't know why the Italian Stukas can't have good bomb loadouts. I mean, they're not bad. They do get a lot of bombs, and this one's top bomb loadout being 4 100s instead of 4 50s, and then a 500, which is still very much capable of doing work. It's just, unfortunately, I would just much rather have that 1,000-kilogram, because you can blow up stuff next to the thing you're targeting as well with that 1,000-kilogram. Obviously, the armor is going to be the same as the D3 in the German tech tree. You get that weird double-barreled MG81, which is surprisingly decent at taking out people on your 6. Obviously, don't 100% rely on it. But it's a D3, just with a worse bomb loadout, and it's Italian now. Then moving on to probably the most frustrating plane in this tech tree for rank 2. I'm going to completely ignore the SM79s here, because they're basically the exact same plane all over again. Oh, kind of going all over the place again. Yep. Same bomb loadouts. I think these actually now I correct myself. These carry torpedoes. Now there might be like a minute difference between the AS and the TM, but at the state of which bombers are at right now in War Thunder, I would actually just avoid flying bombers unless it's one of the ones that stands out as being a better bomber, and the SM79s are not going to be those bombers. It's sad, but in my experience, the best bomber for the Italians is still the S81. Now, is this the fault of the SM79s? No. Do I feel like they're over-tiered? Yes. Especially this thing, the SM79B. I don't know why this plane is the way it is, but it is incredibly frustrating. One, you lose out on the iconic little front engine thing. So now you just lost an engine. Which, granted, those 3 engines weren't taking you anywhere fast, but at least you had 3 of them. Now you just have these 2 and what looks like a freaking canopy, like a freaking greenhouse in the front of the plane. That, by the way, you also lose that little 50 cal that was forward facing that you as the pilot could control. I mean, this plane isn't faster. This plane doesn't even carry torpedoes like the other SM79s. This plane isn't that much faster than the other SM79s. Its guns aren't certainly better. It certainly doesn't have massive armor protection. It's the exact same loadout in terms of SM79s. Completely avoid this plane. Unless there's something about the SM79s that you just absolutely love and you just want to fly them to death, be my guest. But the SM79s are probably some of the most disappointing bombers in this game. Unfortunately, that is all for the normal tech tree for the Italians. Now going on to the premiums for the Italians, the IAR-81C. Now I bought this thing the moment it came out because it was the first Italian, well, technically not Italian, this is a Romanian plane, but it was the first that had cannons at rank 2. Now, back in the day, this was at battle ranking 3.3. These didn't exist, especially this one here, the 2N. This thing here is kind of like the 2N in a lot of ways. Except it's... Okay, I take it back. It's nothing like the 2N. The 2N is like a BF-109. This thing is its completely own separate horse in general. So in terms of firepower, it has 2 FN Browning machine guns. 30 caliber Brownings. Which are on the outsides of the cannons here. That's weird. But alright. And then it has MG 151s. So it has American guns. And it also has German guns. So take with that as you will. Because this plane is kind of a weird oddball, but I actually really enjoy it. Mostly just because it does have capable guns. Those American 30 cals have a decent rate of fire to them, and they're actually pretty lethal. And obviously 20mm cannons at battle ranking 2.7. And you actually get a decent number of them. You get 350 rounds. In terms of maneuverability, you want to try and stay high and stay fast with this thing. Once you get up to altitude, try to stay there. Unless you are the highest plane. Try to avoid going too far down to the deck, because it's going to take you a long time to get back up there. In terms of armor, just the 2 places behind the pilot and then the armored glass. Wing durability is actually pretty good. Actually, it's really good because there's nothing in there other than spars and the guns. So, everything being crammed in right here actually makes it a pretty durable aircraft. I actually really like this thing. If you have a chance to get it, pick it up. Alright, so let's move over to the Italians. God, what am I talking about? Let's move over to the French. So the French at rank 2, unfortunately, we don't really have much to talk about. The MS-410 is almost an exact copy as the MS-406. The only big difference between the MS-406 and the MS-410 is the MS-410 has an additional set of machine guns. Instead of having 2 7.5s, it has 4. That is literally quite it. Maneuverability's okay, but with such a weedy engine, you don't want to make that many maneuvers because then you're just going to be a sitting duck. That's unfortunately kind of the French thing, is that their guns are pretty good, but the power with these engines is just not that great. Which is the best part about this Potez is its guns. The Potez 631, it's got guns for days. It's got 6 7.5mm machine guns at battle ranking 2.0 with 2 20mm Hispano cannons. Now granted, you've only got 180 rounds between those 2 cannons, but at battle ranking 2.0, this thing might as well be a BF-110. That's about it. It does have a little bit of a bomb loadout. You got 2 100s. But this thing is slow. These engines are terrible. They barely move this plane along. Once you get down on the deck, there is almost no chance of you climbing back up. You do have a gunner back here, but he is absolutely completely useless. The only thing he's good for is letting you know when someone's on your 6. Other than that, it's really fun. Those guns are surprisingly good at tearing stuff apart. Then moving on to the MB-174A3. Bit of a mouthful. It's just a French bomber. It's nothing really to write home about either. It does carry A500 or 850s. That's it. That's all your bomb loadout is. It does have 2 forward-facing guns, 2 sevens. Your tail gunner has got 2 7.5s right here. Also, you've got this gun down here. I have no idea what this is here, but it's just 3 7.5 machine guns just sort of pointed backwards. I've never actually seen those guns fire. So I'm guessing they're in a fixed position controlled by this back gunner here that only fire when the plane is in an exact position. Armor plating's absolutely garbage, and your wings are riddled with fuel tanks. So, in terms of bombers, it's meh. Like I said, best French bombers right here. The F-22222222 and the NC-2233. These are the best French bombers at low tier. Then moving on to the VG-33C1. Now this is probably the most unique French plane. And it's not because of its loadout. It's got the exact same guns as the MS-410, but it actually isn't that bad. The engine on it's a bit weak, but this thing can actually maneuver a little bit. It's got a decent roll rate to it, and it's got a decent climb and a decent top speed. So, taking the guns off of a plane that kind of underperforms, and then putting on a plane like the VG, makes the guns seem a lot better than what they were on the previous plane. But that's just because this plane can actually use the guns to greater effect. So, in terms of rank 2, this is probably going to be the, well, not probably, in my opinion, it is the best fighter at rank 2. Heading on to the A-35B. Now, this is actually an American plane that's not in the game for the Americans. I think the history is behind it is that the French saw what the Stuka was doing and wanted their own version, but unfortunately France fell before they were capable of getting these, and I'm kind of thankful they did because these things in real life were kind of crap. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we're not worried about real life, we're worried about what it performs like in game. This thing is a heavy, slow hulking of a beast. The green paint to it is very, I guess you could say, appealing to it, because this thing is a hulk of a dive bomber. It's got a massive bomb loadout. You can either carry 1,000, 2 250s, and 2 500s, or 4 500s. I just go with the 500s because that's 2,000 pounds of bombs right there, and you can spread them out evenly. Also, 6 50 cals. Yeah, this thing's gonna do some work. Tail gunner in there, absolutely useless. It's, like I said, it's only gonna, with most of these dive bombers, tail gunners, it's really only gonna let you know when someone's on your 6. Although it is a 50 cal, so if they are stupid and sit back behind you, you can actually do something with it. But this thing's actually pretty nice. It's very slow. Very slow. But it packs a punch. I like this thing. And I feel like a lot of people will end up liking this thing as well once they start playing with it. The only problem with it is that it jumps to a battle ranking 3.3, and you're absolutely screwed with everything else that's in the tree. You actually have to complement it with stuff at rank 4. Or, not rank 4, what am I talking about? Well, yeah, I guess you can rank 4. But, moving on to the Leos. There's 2 of them right here. I really don't even want to talk about them. They're not that great. The Leo 451 early. It's just a French bomber. It doesn't do anything. I mean, the bombs on it aren't great. the two 500s and then a 100. It's just what is this thing even doing? The best thing it has for it is it's got a 20 millimeter cannon for a turret. Does that mean it's gonna be 3.0? I guess so, because no armor, fuel tanks for days. This thing absolutely sucks. I've flown it out twice, and I've gotten immediately wrecked both times. Which is why I haven't even purchased this version, because the only difference I've seen between the two is this one has a box on the cannon, which I don't know what it does. Just unfortunately for French bombers, they just really don't have anything that they can really bring forth to the table until you get down to rank 4, where you get the Privateer, I think this is called, which this is an American bomber used by the French. So it's not even really a French plane. But that's rank 4, and we're talking about rank 2. So really, in rank 2, the only things you really are looking forward to for the French, which is a damn shame, because the French started out so strong. The D, fuck, I can't even talk right now. The D371 and the 73 were really cool little reserve planes, just because they've got the 4 guns in them instead of just the 2. And then you actually get something different with a D500, but still has 4 guns. And then you just get kind of dropped off in a tiny sandwich of just planes that just kind of feel out of place. The Potez, being as fun as it is, being incredibly slow, being incredibly vulnerable, it's just not a plane I would say is to be taken seriously. It's only meant to go out and kill 3 or 4 people before you are absolutely slaughtered yourself. Which is kind of the same for the MS-410, except not to the same extent, because, I mean, it's only got an extra set of 7.5s, and I'm not saying the 7.5 is bad, it's just they just don't perform as well as, say, German 30 cals, American 50 cals, or 30 cals, and definitely not to the extent that the Russians have. So, yeah, that's kind of it for rank 2. It's kind of a disappointing lot. I mean, the Italians do have a couple of fun things to bring to the table, like the RE-2001, C-202, and the IAR, and then you get the French with the VG-33C, the A-35B, and the Potez, but these two here are kind of meant for just fun. They're not... I take that back. The Potez is more of a fun plane. The A-35 can actually be taken seriously if you play it right. Same with the VG-3C1. This thing is actually a pretty decent plane. You just need to get good with it and need to get used to it. While the Italians, one of their best aircraft is hidden behind a paywall. I got it because I probably spent way too much money in this game already, and me getting back into it actually has me worried a little bit. But other than that, kind of disappointing to finish off, which is sad because it was going to tie into the announcement I was going to make for this. I really don't see myself doing reviews for rank 3. Now, why is that? It's because rank 3 for a lot of nations gets really serious, for me at least, in terms of planes. Like the Americans, you start getting, 5.0, 5.3, 5.7. You start getting pretty high up in the battle rankings, and you start getting some serious hardware. So what am I gonna do? Well, as much as I love just blazing out in a P-47, I know I can't fly a P-47 the same way I can fly a P-36 or a low-tier Corsair or even an A-36 or anything like that. And that's because I came into this game with the intent of just playing with the low-tier fun stuff, and yeah, if I unlock, you know, an I-225 or whatever what this thing is, you know, if I unlock it with me just dirtling around with the little planes, then yeah, that's fine. But am I ever going to put this in a loadout and actually use it? Probably not. I don't have anything close to 6.3 that I can complement it with. 6.3, I start seeing jets. And God knows what those are going to be like for me. So, one thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to War Thunder is the direction they're taking it. They're adding a lot of newer planes. They're adding a lot of newer stuff. As you can tell, you can even buy premium jets now. It'll let me go to it. There we go. You know, you can buy a premium jet and just stick you right into 9.0. That's not where I want to be. This is where I have fun. It's just these first two boxes, and that's what's for me. I'm sorry if anybody was looking forward to rank 3, but I'm not going to be reviewing them as a whole. There's definitely a few planes in there that I do like at rank 3. Like, obviously, eventually I want to do something with the P-47s, because those are my absolutely favorite plane of all time. And at rank 3, you know, the Germans, they get the amazing Focke-Wulf 190s, the sleepers, in my opinion, of the Me-410s, and then, of course, the Ducks, the HS-129s. You know, USSR, you want to talk about rank 3? Well, there's probably one of the most iconic Russian planes in the game, Yak-9T. So, you know, Stalin's hammer of a plane right there. PE-8, that's another wonderful plane. But I feel like I'm just going to review them as singular planes. You know, the way they're taking the game, there's a lot of modern jets, there's a lot of modern tanks, there's a lot of modern helicopters now even. And really that stuff just isn't interesting to me. So where I'm taking this series is going to be based off of individual planes rather than just the entire rank as a general. Now, I know it might felt like I just kind of skimmed through most of these planes, and that's just because there really wasn't anything super interesting at rank 2 for the French or the Italians. Now, there are exceptions to this, like the Potez, the VG-33, and the A-35, and then, of course, the RE-2001CN, the C-202EC, the Stukas, both of them, which I absolutely love, and then the IAR-18. I can't even pronounce that, but anyway, I'm glad y'all guys watched this video, and I hope you have a fun time with this game. If you ever want to see me flying around, you know where to find me. Between battle rankings 1 and 4.0, because it's very rare for me to stretch out of that. So anyway, I'll see you.